It doesn't matter. So I'm done with pretending that I don't see anything!
The 2012 movie Ted depicts John Bennett, a man-child on his path towards maturity, represented by him growing out of his need for his teddy bear Ted, which has gained sentience since he was a kid, and has been his best friend and roommate ever since. As an adult, it seems he can't stop being a child. His girlfriend hates his obsession with video games and his coveting of toys from his childhood, but it seems as though toys and video games are symptomatic of the problem. Ultimately, it's Ted that has to go for John's arc to be complete, and for him to finally be an adult. Though, spoilers, there's a Ted too, so it can be argued that John mostly just appeases his girlfriend's wishes for him to man up than him having any actual growth. The distillation of his obsession with escapism through childhood is Ted. Ted moves out and has his own place before the movie is over, but what saves the main couple's relationship is ultimately a near-death experience and a Phoenix Down. The film version of Ted to me is the 2015 movie Trainwreck. Main character Amy, yes, Amy Schumer plays a fictional version of herself, who acts like one of the guys, is the dream of many stereotypical men, at least on paper. She's rude, drinks a lot, knows what men want as she writes for a men's life magazine, and is very promiscuous. Her toys are drugs and alcohol and sets, which kind of position her as someone a man will find awesome to be on a fling with, but is only a juvenile man's fantasy. Oh no, I am inputting something as an editor less than 5 minutes into the essay, because I have things to say. So before we continue on, I think that I want to provide a little bit more context that I was missing before looking at the movie a little bit more critically. Although all the things I'm about to say have weight, I think that they have substantially more weight when put into the context of the Amy's basically a bro sort of approach, because the movie derides a lot of its comedy from the collision of reversed gender roles. There's a lot of famous people in the movie. Amy dates a wrestler, and her love interest is very close friends with LeBron James because he is an athletic surgeon. And both of these men that are, the wrestler is John Cena, by the way. Both of these men and her love interest and her sister's husband, who's played by Mike Birbiglia, the most beta male kind of person that one could think of. All these men show very much signs of being what some folks would call, seen in women as cattiness, of being over emotional and caring about things that men shouldn't care about. It's actually played up as comedy throughout the movie.
Watching Downton Abbey later?
If I get out of here on time, yeah, we could watch it. If not, let's do it tomorrow.
What? Listen, I'm watching it tonight because I'm not going to go to practice in the morning and all the guys are talking about it and I'm left out.
You know, every single guy I work out with, every single guy, says that all you're gonna do is mess with my emotions and hurt me.
You guys talk about that at the gym?
Having a family is fun.
That's fun.
Yeah. We're having a boys' lunch.
Here? Dad, just shut up.
We spoke about this yesterday, right? About Alistair.
Amy? No, he's lying.
Amy.
Amy, come on, you said he's the kind of kid who drops his pants to the floor when he pees in the urinal.
No, I
That's
didn't
funny
say
to
that.
guys.
You said that. I said he pees sitting down.
Especially with John Cena, as John Cena cares a lot about feelings, and him and LeBron both talk about talking to their guy friends like a woman is expected to talk to her girlfriends. And it's this weird thing that on one hand, because Amy isn't comfortable with it, and her dad, who is very toxically masculine, doesn't really like it. The movie doesn't approve of her image of it, but it still plays these things as comedy. Because although it doesn't approve of Amy's abusive behavior and debaucherous consumption of drugs, it still uses men who seem like women as the punchline and uses Amy as the quote-unquote straight man to a lot of the situations. I think Pop Culture Detective's recent video on men crying and the opportunities that they get to do it without being made fun of or hazed is a perfect example of all the things I would love to talk about that I don't have time to talk about in this video, but would love to return to one day. Amy secures a partner in a seemingly healthy relationship at the end, just like John and Ted, after a grand romantic gesture. I mean, after becoming more mature, which is exemplified for Amy by becoming sober, and of course, not acting like one of the bros anymore. She throws away her alcohol just like John throws away his toys. After all, boys will be boys, and if girls will be boys, there's obviously a problem. Though the context of Amy's failure to launch into adulthood is explained as her being scarred by her parents' divorce early in her life, in which she, embodying her father's last words to her before walking out of her life, was that monogamy doesn't work.
But what if I told you that was the only doll you were allowed to play with the rest of your life? How would you feel?
Sad.
You'd feel sad, of course, because there's a lot of other dolls on your shelves. And if you play with the other dolls, you can't have that doll anymore. Even though that doll doesn't really want to play with you at this point. You're both living a lie. So that's why me and Mom are getting divorced. Monogamy isn't realistic.
Monogamy isn't realistic.
Again.
No, don't throw away his snow globes. These are his memories. He got one of these everywhere he went.
Does he have one for every one of our teachers? I don't see them.
He didn't fuck all of our teachers.
Fucked all of my teachers.
No, he never fucked Mr. Hecht. I did. I'm just kidding.
And instead of just simply being non-monogamous like any rational person should, she becomes a literal train wreck. Afraid of commitment and losing herself in an endless string of debauchery, seemingly leading a very unfulfilling life. The message is similar in both films, though John's drug use is more of a minor plot point. The darkest hour in Ted happens when Ted invites John to a party at his house, and subsequently does cocaine with Flash Gordon, or rather the actor that played him.
You guys seem pretty cool. You like to party?
Cocaine, right?
Come on, dudes. Don't tell me you've never done it before.
Well, not recently, no. I thought that was just for people in Florida.
Which gets so out of hand that John's girlfriend Lori breaks up with him on the spot after finding out.
I'm sorry, I messed up.
John, I need you out of the apartment tonight. Give me the car keys.
Can I please just explain?
No.
Look, I was
John, I have given up a huge chunk of my life for you.
I was gonna stop in for like 5 minutes and then Flash
Just
Gordon.
give me the car keys.
Damn. Women never let you do cocaine with Flash Gordon and your childhood teddy bear. Sad. What I always found interesting about Ted, and of course this scene in particular, is the interesting collision between childhood and adulthood. In the movie at large, Ted is a bad influence. The friend that gets you into stupid shit. But he's also a living teddy bear, harkening to childhood memories of magical friendship.
Ah! You're my best friend, John. Did you just talk? Don't look so surprised. You're the one who wished for it, aren't you? Yeah. I did wish for it. Well, here I am. You mean we get to be best friends for real? For real. Forever and ever? Sounds good to me.
But the story isn't concerned with John's magical childhood because Ted is much more of a bad influence on him as an adult than as a child. And of course, the subtext of the film is putting away childish things.
I promise I will leave and I'll never come back. All right, he'll be all yours.
Ted, that's a really nice offer, but I don't want you to do that. This is between John and me, and I don't think it can be fixed.
Yeah, because of me. Look, Laurie, you want him to be a man, all right? But as long as he's got his teddy bear, he's always gonna be a boy.
In the unlikely scenario of doing drugs with a childhood idol, some probably accidental on-the-nose symbolism occurs. After the party and the subsequent breakup with Lori, John is so angry at Ted, blaming him for Lori leaving him, that he disowns Ted altogether.
Oh, come on. She'll go home, she'll watch Bridget Jones, something asshole, she'll have a good cry, she'll be fine. You'll talk to her tomorrow. Come on upstairs.
Are you even listening to me? Do you give any shred of a shit?
course I do, Johnny. Thunder buddies for life, remember?
Jesus. You know, Laurie was right. I should have stopped hanging out with you a long time ago. I'm never gonna have a life with you around. I'm 35 years old and I'm going nowhere. All I do is smoke pot, watch movies with a teddy fucking bear. Because of that, I just lost the love of my life.
Johnny, I'm sorry.
I gotta be on my own, Ted. I can't see you anymore.
John, wait. Listen.
It's kind of like how one might repress their childhood hobbies or mannerisms if they hurt them socially, or just filled with shame. Okay, I'm in the editing booth and I noticed something because when I was getting clips for the movie, I ended up watching the whole movie again, and I realized that John doesn't have any toys other than Ted still. There's no scene in which he throws them away or has them displayed in the first place. I messed up. Hey, video essayists are fallible too. I stand by my analysis, but yeah, I was wrong about that part. Despite the optics, the issue in Ted isn't love for things child-related, like it would suggest, but with John's unhealthy codependency on Ted. The drug use in Ted isn't technically the problem, but is another symptom of it. After all, they can still be friends at the end of the story. In both Trainwreck and Ted, irresponsible drug use is like a kid eating too much sugar, having a tantrum, and wrecking the house. Though, by and large, getting sober is generally a good thing. In Trainwreck, the solving of the issue is Amy getting sober, yes, but also stopping so much risk-taking behavior, and doing the equivalent of holding a boombox over her head like in that one movie, but in public. And a basketball stadium, surrounded by cheerleaders. In Ted, it's having a healthy relationship with your childhood friend, supposedly. Okay, it's mostly John's girlfriend seeing Ted is important enough to stay in John's life after she revives him with tears, incurring the same magic John did when he first brought Ted to life all those years ago. Both movies' climaxes are actually pretty sweet, in context. Man-children are generally seen as gross failures of adulthood and manhood. They are a huge media trope. The point was to put childish things away. Only then can you be responsible. To a lesser degree, infantilized women are generally celebrated, even coveted. The reason I compare Ted to Trainwreck and not something else is because I can't think of any plots that adhere to this formula. Can you? Let me know in the comments. Generally, the flip side of the man-child trope is, unsurprisingly, the manic pixie dream girl. A girl that's typically childlike and, more importantly, whimsical and carefree. She's basically never the main character and is the love interest for, typically, a man, whose world is dull before her, or at the very least, isn't going anywhere he wants it to. And regardless if she stays in his life, she injects color and possibility into his life, leaving a mark that is a catalyst for character growth. So basically a whole ass plot device. It's a way for men in media to get swept off their feet.
I'm just happy. I've never felt that before.
So a woman that acted like John and Ted doesn't set off the same degree of societal red flags, so it has to be a bit different. In the end, it's an intrinsic failure of gender within the wider context of a failing adulthood. But to a degree, it's really just dysfunction with fun-coded maladaptive coping. It speaks to the standards typically placed on women and men, and those perceived to be women and men, in our society. Mannish people tend to be seen as needing to be responsible, tough, not too emotional, but maybe a little bit, as a treat. Maybe crying at a funeral, or passionately arguing for their football team, or why their kid's so great. Toxic masculinity, am I right? While women-type people are usually pressured to play a supporting role. They can't be too hard or gross. They need to balance out the hardness of the men in their life. They need to be protected. They're generally infantilized in that they're supposed to need men to take care of them and make sure no other man hurts them. They should give happiness to the men in their life like the Lady of the Lake giving King Arthur Excalibur. Excalibur, Excalibur. But regardless of your perceived gender, there is a degree in which childlike behavior and hobbies are seen as a problem. It's just men are seen as more deficient for such behaviors, up until the point of emasculation, or rather, beta maleship. The 40-year-old virgin hangs on the man-child aspect for its premise too. It's not just that he's a virgin, but that he's a failure as a man, as an adult. And what are the main characters in this movie's interests? Action figures and video games? Weird.
She's picking you up from here?
Yeah.
That's fucked up, man.
Why?
Why? Seriously. I mean, look at this place, man. You gotta see this through the eyes of a woman, you know? What is she gonna think when she comes in here? Oh, look, he's got a billion toys. So what? And more video games than a teenaged Asian kid. Okay, we just take everything that's embarrassing and we move it out of here so it doesn't look like you live in Neverland Ranch.
You wanna head out?
Do you just move in or something?
But hey, games being seen as childlike and for boy children specifically are a consequence of games being marketed as boy children's playthings when the video game industry was still in its infancy. It was Nintendo that was at the forefront of this, and are credited with keeping the industry alive enough to kinda grow out of that image, and of course make video games the powerhouse of profitability they are in the world today. And I guess of course being ubiquitous and telling good stories that no other medium can tell. Though, let's be fair, Nintendo is definitely the Disney of video games, with all the gross family friendliness and homophobia with all the gross family friendliness and homophobia that entails. The consequences of this are still felt. Many still scoff at statistics saying that there are more or less a 50-50 split in the gender of gamers between men and women. This for many reasons I won't get into here because I'm trying to keep tangents to a minimum. The idea that games are just for boys is slowly eroding, and at the same time we're seeing more femme pro esports players, game-related content creators, and game devs. Not just gamers. But what has been culturally slower to change is the image that games are for kids. I think to a degree that has lessened as the medium has definitely matured and even strived to tell diverse stories, and of course, there are more adults than ever buying games not for the kids in their lives, but for themselves. Even amongst franchises that still target kids. Kinda like how people complain at adult Pokemon fans as if they were bronies.
How many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man?
I can explain.
It's still an artifact of childhood for many, especially in indie game aesthetics. You know, the games we play the most and are games made by folks often inspired directly by games they played in childhood. Yeah, those. Even if you don't know what age play is, if you're a gamer, or a gamer if you prefer, you probably have a game that ingests you with nostalgia for those simpler times before taxes, and COVID, and jobs, and drugs, and maybe even sex. Within games media, the low-hanging fruit of a joke is that gamers are childish, vain, spoiled, short-sighted, short attention span, etc. They whine and cry about forced diversity, and don't like that which isn't flashy, bloody, or owns the libs. Or objectifies women. For a long time, we've taken offense to the gamers are babies line of insults because we are baby, and we strive to not be gamer TM. The people being described by these insults I don't want to be associated with, to be honest. Maybe they're childish, but they're the worst kind of brat. The worst kind of brat should not be the default kid. I'm a good girl. Gamer, even without the TM, has been co-opted by queerphobes and racists and generally shitty people who don't care about their fellow person. I, long ago, fully embraced the gamer identity, and to some degree it saved my life, or at the very least has connected me to people and experiences that have changed my life for the better, and of course, helped me navigate life overall. I do have the delusion that I'm stuck in a video game after all. That is all while being a queer, black, disabled person. A person that gamer TMs are the sworn enemy of. Ooh, I'm invading your spaces. I won't deny that there's a large amount of uncritical, hate-filled, publisher bootlicking people who dare to call themselves gamers, but I have optimism that of the folks that games spark joy for, that the majority aren't shitheads. Maybe the shitheads are the ones with the most brand loyalty though? Maybe I'm wrong. So, now with all the preamble out of the way, let's get to how it all connects to age play. Millennials and Zoomers have generally been the generations that have, more or less, rejected the lie of adulthood, which is steeped in ableism, sexism, capitalism, and so many other isms. And so boomers and the like have long put us in the box of infantilization and perceived entitlement. Pog. Apparently, we got spoiled to the idea of a just world and weren't weaned off early enough. They blame us for neglecting to level up to our big kid pants, as if they ever fit in the first place. but that has the interesting effect of allowing us to reclaim childhood and redefine adulthood on our terms. Some of these terms are an attempt to reframe society for the benefit of all people, but that's another video one of us did already. This essay is less about that and more about what age play really is, a reclaiming of childhood. Age play is the act of, or lifestyle of, embodying a younger version of yourself for fun and profit. I mean, for comfort and stress relief. Or is it just to get off? Sometimes it's all of it. Sometimes it's just one. Age play is a kink, but it is special and it is not only a kink. Kinda like how furry fandom is a sex positive fandom for many, it has a lot to do with sex and sexuality, but not all folks get that from it. Age play is the broader term, which includes stuff like ADBL, schoolgirl, schoolboy, school MB play, or even going to Hot Topic unironically as an adult. Though, in this essay, I will argue for being a gamer to be included in the wider age play umbrella. At least in some cases. Choose your class, everybody. This topic can be divisive for many, as some feel I'm breaching consent by even talking about it. But if you're all familiar with this if you are at all familiar with this channel, you know that we try to integrate conversations about age play naturally and respectfully into our content. Age play is nothing to be ashamed of and nothing to bully others about, though I won't say this isn't age play propaganda, because, well, it is. However, I want to iterate that age play does not stop at ADBL. That is, adult baby / diaper lovers. Like I mentioned, it encompasses a whole range of behaviors and passions. And I could really stick a fork in this early and just say that gamers are age players because we overwhelmingly value things associated with youth. Games have only recently been seen as something that one can enjoy outside of childhood socially acceptably. Many of us are marketed to as kids and the programming stuck. And we piss ourselves. Shit, I think one of those doesn't universally fit. Yeah, some folks don't start gaming until adulthood. Hey, if that describes you, you're valid too. I think one of my aims above all here is to show how gaming can reclaim your childhood and can create a new one, and how you should absolutely lean into that. And that there's a wider community of people who do just that. And then you should see them as siblings of some sort. So I think the main reason our system's been wanting to make this video was because of two content creators in particular that give off vibes we ourselves value in reclaiming childhood in the ways that we care about. So it's no surprise that we're mentioning James Stephanie Sterling here, right? One of the biggest names in video games media that also has a very childlike and flamboyant aesthetic. Their love of retro toys like Boglins and Pogs, Boglins are mine sometimes.
We have brought it up here before, back in the 80s when I was growing up. Ronnie Reagan over in the United States there, that old president of that old United States, relaxed a lot of restrictions, basically letting kids get directly advertised to, which of course came in the form of cartoons. They bite, they fight, they stand for everything right. They're street sharks, let's kick some serious fin. So of course the knock-on effect is consumerism got to us lot really super early. We were raised on commercials, we were raised on advertising. You know, we were told we must buy Megatron and Optimus Prime, and that has been drilled into our heads. I mean, look, I was born in 1984, so drilled into my head is the message that if I do not get Optimus Prime, Megatron will win. And that's why I went and got 2 Megatrons.
They, like many nerds, love collecting toys. For them, it's stuff specifically from their youth. However, it doesn't have to be things you had as a kid. It can be new stuff that hypes you up, similar to the Western animation lovers out there who love and collect stuff from, say, Adventure Time or the Owl House, just as much as any first playthrough kid does. One can even say being an adult and not having to beg your parents for toys means that you can have even more irresponsibility. I mean, you can have even more stuff that you wouldn't be able to have on your first playthrough. I think before we even became an age player ourselves, we saw folks like Sterling as an inspiration for those loud and proud about more childlike interests. That was incredibly important to us because in our first playthrough of childhood, we played with toys pretty regularly, even after the point at which it was socially acceptable. We even lost friends for continuing to play with toys for being essentially a bad influence. Our friend's dad at one point forbid us from playing with his kid because We cried a lot, and still played with toys. And that was only around the age of 11. What can I say? Black kids are expected to have shorter playthroughs. Assigned males even more so. I think we stopped playing with toys openly around 15, and we slowly tapered off mostly from shame and bullying, from friends and family. And for the record, I don't mean we displayed model Gundams in our room like a normal weeb. I mean, we made voices and had elaborate ongoing storylines. We didn't simply mash our toys together and have them fight. We had them make out, hold each other tenderly, get married sometimes, or have fully choreographed fight scenes.
Let them fight.
You know, normal kid stuff. And so, like Andy in Toy Story 3, when college came around, we can only take so many with us. I honestly don't know if we took any. We definitely don't have them anymore. Fucking homelessness. For all I know, the toys we used to have are all still collecting dust in our childhood home. Our biggest regret about our toys was just not retrieving them before we got disowned by our parent for being trans. Such a shame. We mourn our lost toys from time to time, but the consolation for us has a long time been video games. They are like toys after all, especially stuff like Devil May Cry or Sonic Adventure. And with cutting edge graphics, we could do so much more than our imagination will allow us at a glance. It was like a low effort toy game. The toy game is what we used to call our toy-based story campaigns. So it's no wonder that we love games so much, since they fill the toy chest shaped space in our heart. And we've never really attempted to return to that. We just invested more and more time and energy into video games. But hey, the big 3-0 is coming up, so it's just in time for a midlife catharsis. It sparks so much joy to see James, Stephanie, Sterling play with their toys, or to do unboxings and nerd out about them.
I got these goddamn fucking Street Sharks animation cells, and then they tried to make this happen for boys, werebears. Oh god, its face turns inside out, and then it's a monster, and oh my god, its hands turn inside out. Oh. I'd say that went on entirely too long. Oh god, let's just shit on EA.
I know that perhaps for them and many others who collect toys and sometimes open the packaging, that they don't see themselves as any less of an adult. Probably. But adultism is silly and widely unnecessary. Respect, responsibility, the value and understanding of consent, and a duty of care to other human beings does not have to come at the cost of youthful energy and a wonder at things. Or piss yourself. But there's this one video that really sparked our interest in covering this. It's a video where James, Stephanie, Sterling basically age regresses throughout the video to make a point about the discussion on talking about video games politics free, something in which many of their audience that criticized their criticism of video games asked for. That's a confusing sentence.
Activision is a company that exists, founded in 1979 under circumstances too divisive to discuss here. Primarily known for Call of Duty, a video game series about travel, Activision has published many video games which it exchanges with other people for small rectangular sheets of coloured paper. Activision exists, the end, thanks someone for me. Right, this is the best I can manage. Activision. In recent years, some people have worked for the company and then they didn't. Work is something people choose to do for fun, and sometimes the people who don't work there anymore are sad because they liked working there and having fun with their pals. Activision's person what is in charge of Activision, Bobby Kotick, also did a sad out of his face and said it was very difficult when he told his friends in quality assurance that they couldn't come over and play anymore. The economic reality is that as corporations reach a threshold on the profits that have been falsely represented as perpetually expansive, billionaire CEOs like Bobby Kotick are always looking for ways to cut costs to maintain an illusion of growth. Coupled with a consumption-based labour process that sees the routine hiring and redundancy of thousands of workers leads to GameStop recently held a dance contest for its employees. GameStop workers have been encouraged to do entertaining dances on the video sharing platform TikTok, using the classic UB40 song Red Red Wine, a song about nothing, probably. The store judged to have the best dance will win prizes: an Echo 8 Echo Auto, $100 Visa gift card, and 10 additional labor hours for the week of Black Friday. And I, fucking apparently, have nothing to say about that. I only have information, and that's all of the information. This isn't working. I thought to myself, this'll be easy. This'll be quick. Suck all of the politics out of the discussion, do what they've told me to do for years. No bias, no positions, no themes, no point, no meaning. It's not possible. I mean, going by the logic of those who don't want politics, the very existence of certain genders and races are political, but to say any gender or race is political is to say they all are. But if you say being a cis white man is too political for video games, you'll get told they want to be told it's shit when developers are. They want video games to be treated but they don't want to know why, how, or what to be done about it. They want video games how even can we have a discussion about it? They think men should be anyone I see it. The answer. How do you talk about games without politics? Yes.
Google, yes. Activision did a no, yes he did, Google. Big mini boo-boo conky did a bad thing, and I'm going to tell. Yes, I am. I like Turkey Day because me like seeing Fun Parade with Spider-Man in it. Spider-Man is my favorite superhero because he is Ubisoft. What's Ubisoft? Oh, they make that funny game about a pig in the big city like Babe, right? I like when their funny man has a magic phone. It makes me do a lot of big laughs.
And they spent years covering for sexual abuse, rife within its company, at every level, and CEO Yves Jourmeau continually ducks questions about how much he knew.
At first, we didn't know if it was more or less just telling gamers how much they're like entitled brats for wanting to have their games devoid of politics. And it is that, but so much more. Especially in the sense that many asking for politics not to be discussed in video games, or much else, comes largely from the privilege of not being hated by society enough that ignoring politics is even a possibility. Or just straight up bootlicking.
You can keep thinking you're apolitical and enlightened centrist who doesn't get involved. It means you accept and therefore condone abuse. Better it continue than you be inconvenienced is your ultimate message. Where your priorities lie says a lot politically. And that's fine. Continue thinking there are no political messages in RoboCop. Keep assuming there's no deeper meaning in an entire genre of shooters that support the US military in the belief that there are good guys and bad guys, and the former can do whatever they want while the latter are ski mask wearing goons to be shot on sight. And keep thinking that because your human rights aren't up for debate every single fucking day, that things are normal and okay and acceptable. If you want. But don't come here and complain, because this episode proved it was fucking impossible for at least myself to suck all the fucking life and meaning out of everything.
If anything, I was a little salty that Sterling did this before we had a chance to. Cause it was totally something we'd do for an essay. Although I guess we still can. Although a lot of age play is done for escapism, one of the reasons that this channel exists is because, just like the average gamer TM, there are many that want to go la 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 to anything that breaks their perfect bubble of not worrying about defunding the police, the rights of trans people, or the looming threat of climate change, let alone the ongoing crunch epidemic. Everything besides the crunch epidemic applies to age players as well as gamers. There are many age players, some of them even gamers who want to fight and advocate for these causes, and our voice is among them. You can value wonder and innocence and fun stuff like chicken nuggies and painting with your hands and still fight for a just world, we think. And we think the paradigm shift that those values provide might be useful in that purpose. Hey, I know I'm not the only one who wants to brat out against capitalism. So I talked about reclaiming your childhood a lot, or rather returning to it through activities and objects, but this next example harkens to the value of a second playthrough with stats you always wanted instead of ones that were forced on you.
Attaboy! Look at you, Mr. Director! Mr. Big Shot Director over here!
Ah, BDG, the wonderful lord of humor, horror, dad vibes, and the best Poke rap.
Caterpie, Butterfree, Wurmple, Scorbunny, Sobble, and Grookey, Licky, Tongue, and Licky, Licky.
Without BDG and James Stephanie Sterling, this video wouldn't even exist, as they're both big adult-hooded inspirations. In his Polygon video about playing through the mainline Crash Bandicoot games, BDG definitely engages in age play, and this representation of it really encapsulates what we think many folks get out of it, especially in the realm of age regression specifically.
What's up, dudes? You wanna play Pogs? No way, I love rollerblading. Let's get to the airport like 30 minutes before our flight. Security shouldn't be an issue.
See, BDG wanted to gain nostalgia goggles for the Crash games before diving into Crash 4, but alas, he has no time machine, and he never played them as a kid.
I was born too late to Crash. I have been robbed of the nostalgia so many lucky gamers feel, and sadly, that nostalgia is impossible for me to obtain now. Just kidding, I have sponsor money! Nothing is out of my reach! My hypothesis is that if I purchase all of the required food, decor, and technology available in a 1996 to 1998 American household, I can essentially create a pocket dimension, which will allow me to speedrun the late 90s, enhancing my enjoyment of Crash Bandicoot 4.
Pretending to go back in time and surrounding himself with artifacts reflective of the time he's emotionally going back to? He even gave himself a slightly new name. Instead of simply returning to a time that comforted him in a way specific to his first playthrough, he decided to design his own playthrough. Tangent! Age play is very popular with trans people, as by and large a ton of us are disappointed with how our first run turned out. A symptom of this is how, in finding ourselves, many trans folks, sometimes even unintentionally, live through a short second playthrough, as we get into new hobbies, styles of clothes, or maybe even ways of speaking that we were barred from in our first playthrough as it defied gender expectations, and we would have been gender punished. Some folks consider these things trans growing pains, but for us, and so many others, we lean into that shit. The trappings of childhood and the correct gender are already intoxicating enough, but especially when others will play with you too, or encourage the exploration and self-care, well then, shit, kiddo.
That's all you had to say.
Many of us can't help but do a full playthrough, or dare I say it, go on an endless run? It has its pros and cons, and hey, we'll have to deal with transphobia either way, so fuck it. And that is just a microcosm of what many people get out of age regression specifically, not just trans folks either. Folks who have been abused or otherwise were forced to grow up too fast, like latchkey kids and the like, much get the same benefit. A run that better suits their playstyle than their first, and comforts them with the knowledge that they didn't truly miss out on some of those wonderful, colorful, joyful, youthful moments. Fuck you, I'll make my own childhood with blackjacks and hooker and Sonic OC. Don't steal. But you don't have to have hated your childhood to get something out of this endeavor. As far as I know, aside from playing Crash Bandicoot and the loss of Terry
is gone.
BDG had a wonderful childhood. So even if you don't have to repress memories of your first playthrough, you can still do another run, just for fun. You can target a single aspect of your childhood that you think could have gone better. In fact, some knowledgeable folks may have honed in on my use of the term age regression as opposed to age play. It's part of why age play is divisive in the first place, because age regression can be used in a medical context as a way that a therapist might walk a client through uncovering repressed memories so that they can heal from trauma. It can be a defense mechanism. It can also be a symptom of a number of disorders, and so for a lot of people it isn't happening purposefully. Some of these disorders include schizophrenia, dissociative identity disorder, schizophrenic disorder, post-traumatic stress disorder, major depressive disorder, dementia, and borderline personality disorder. Fuck. I think I have a lot of these. In this context, age regression has no kink context, but I do want to say that especially because of the number of ways age regression can occur and the number of neurodivergent folks that do age play or practice recreational age play, there are a lot of nuance to this. And for age players, fluidity in its uses does exist. At some point, basically while writing this essay, I had to think, am I an age player because I age regress? Is my natural inclination towards it because of uncomfortable factors like mental illness or my own struggles with incontinence? Would I even be into it if I was Neurotypical? The world will never know. And I know it can be a sensitive topic because some folks age regress and can't control it, and are embarrassed by it, and in no way enjoy it. And that's valid too. Okay, now that that part's out of the way, let's bring it home. So, BDG's age regression journey is going great when he realizes, oh snap, this is pretty awesome. I want to stay here forever. Let's just never go back to adult land.
But what if I never leave? If you'll recall, the rules of this nostalgia speedrun dictate that I must stay in the dimension until I complete all 4 Crash Bandicoot games, and I haven't completed them yet. And honestly, part of what makes Crash 4 so exciting for fans of the series is that they had to wait 22 years for the next installment. So it just makes sense for me to stay here for the same amount of time. A nostalgia slow run.
And this is a struggle for many an age player, especially gamers. You get wrapped up in all the freedom and whimsy that returning to that mean old adult world isn't just scary, it's painful.
I realized that my time in this perfect dimension would soon be coming to an end. I'd have to deal with the disappearance of Surge, and all denim outfits going out of style, and Y2K. And I'd have to go to high school, and college, and I'd have to get a job, and pay rent, and I have to deal with all those bills, and the emails from Activision asking me where I've gone.
And although his video was a scripted bit, it resonates hard. A thing doesn't have to be true for truth to be in it, after all. Neglecting your responsibilities because of escapism, I think, is common pretty much for everybody, right? And so the end of the video does bum me out. Crash Bandicoot comes to BDG's house like he wanted at the beginning of the video.
I asked Activision if they could send Crash Bandicoot to my house. Sadly, they were a little confused at first. They said that the Crash suit couldn't fit into my small New York apartment, and I explained I don't want the suit, I just want Crash Bandicoot, but they said it just wasn't gonna work out, so.
Oh my god, Crash Bandicoot?
Yup, it's me, Crash Bandicoot, and I'm here to help you with your video.
But they said you were busy. Here, have a pouched juice.
No time.
But instead of the whimsy and joy he expected, just like happening upon Chuck E. Cheese without his head, this constructed childhood comes crashing down. Bummer.
Okay, Crash, it's been 30 minutes. I'm ready to see what...
Damn! Crash is an agent of the adultriarchy? And he does what many folks do to those who want to retreat into a simpler time. Pulls him out of it. BDG can't very well finish the video if he doesn't return to present year. And ironically, BDG's storyline here parallels that of those he wanted to share the experiences of. That is, those who grew up with Crash and want to play Crash 4. Of course with nostalgia goggles intact. His childhood is over. Again. And he's left with just the bare minimum to indulge in. The console, a TV, and a game. Stuck in a boring room, living a mostly adult life. A speck of childhood on the screen. But the thing is, it doesn't have to be this way for you and me. Although it's hard to go all out, there are little things you can do to do a stealth run if you wanna. Eat more finger food. Ingrain words like potty, awesome possum, and workers of the world unite into your vocabulary. Don't be afraid to cry. Wear printed undies. Play with your toys. Piss yourself. It's never too late. Paying bills and working your job are pretty much non-negotiable right now. Unlike this BDG video, you don't have to choose one or the other. You just gotta age play responsibly, you know? And before I get hazed in the comments, I'm not saying anyone we talked about here is definitely an age player outside this subclass of gamer. But they do give me vibes that make me feel validated as one. I think you can be one if you want, just by being a gamer. Sometimes all it takes is picking up a controller with a certain state of mind. Good night everybody. Take care of yourselves. This has been Thornbite, with another Fluffbit. Thanks for watching everybody. It's still Thornbite. Things have been weird for us. A lot of the headmains went dormant. Gonna try to get Dust to front tonight for his stream. See how that goes. We're pushing back his his VTuber debut till the end of the month, the 31st, which is Saturday. So that's gonna be cool. We did the 24-hour stream. We ended an hour shy, and it was like really physically overwhelming. We actually didn't get to all the games, but we hope to make our way through slowly throughout July, maybe, probably. But yeah, if it's your first time watching a Fluffbite video, we're a Deity plural system streamer video essayist that talks a lot about mental health, leftism, age play, being a furry, and a whole bunch of other highly emotional and somewhat upsetting topics. Thanks for watching the video to its completion, and I'd like to thank our wonderful patrons: Apollo, Madame Missy, Joystick, Tinlufu, and finally, Invalued Customer. We have a Patreon if you want to join it and be in the back of videos just like these fine bites. We couldn't do our phenomenal work without the love and support of our community. Thank you all so much. Happy, was it Tuesday? Whoa. This essay took, what, 4 days to do? And it was supposed to be this little tiny essay. Gosh, I guess we're kind of like a YouTuber, huh? Oh yeah, I was trying to do an essay and then it turned into a 40-minute thingy thing. Gosh. Such a mood. Check us out on twitch.tv/Fluffbite tonight if you want. Dusk will be playing horror games. Have a good night, everybody. Shit, kiddo. That's all you had to say.